Josiah here with VariableX Gaming to talk about my favorite deck in Legends of Runeterra, Heimerdinger Control. If you don't know what this deck is, it focuses on using Heimerdinger here and a large variety of spells to gain value through his minion production. We're going to go over some of the highlights of this deck, what makes it a little bit different than some of the other lists you may have seen floating around the internet. Heimerdinger, of course, is the star here. He says, when you cast a spell, create a fleeting turret in hand with equal cost. It costs 0 this round. So any spell you cast will make a turret. The sweet spots for the turret for me are 3, 4, and 8. 3 is a 3/1 elusive. 4 is a 4/1 fearsome. And 8 is an 8/8. Plain old 8/8, and getting to play any of those for 0 mana is a huge swing on the board state. So this deck has slightly more minions. Slightly more followers than you may be used to seeing. About 9. Most of the lists that I've seen run a little bit less. So 26 spells, 5 champions, and 9 followers. So besides Heimerdinger here, we also have Jinx and Ezreal to help in some tough situations. I do like the lists that only have Heimerdinger in them, but I believe that he needs a little bit of support. Having Heimerdinger out is definitely a huge threat on the board, but getting either one of these other 2 champions as well does swing the games in your favor a little bit more. So let's first talk about Ezreal. Ezreal, when he attacks a Nexus, he gains a fleeting Mystic Shot. Fleeting means that, like it says here, fleeting cards discard from hand when the round ends. So having access to a 2-mana spell whenever Ezreal hits the Nexus is pretty powerful. You can use the fleeting spells in your discard mechanics. You can use them to hit face. You can use them to clear other things. Casting them also while you have a Heimerdinger out gets you more followers to play. And so he's elusive here, in which I think elusive is definitely taking over the meta right now. So I'm trying to play into that a little bit with some of my deck choices. And Ezreal being elusive definitely helps. He levels up from targeting enemy units, and this deck has a lot of targeting spells. So he was a shoo-in for me. He's not necessarily the engine. You definitely don't want to only play his Mystic Shots to get followers, but he definitely helps the deck out a whole lot. An interesting choice that I haven't seen any other list run is Jinx. She's a 4/3 with quick attack, which in and of itself is actually a pretty good stat line. It's an aggressive stat line, and quick attack helps her get through and clear some other followers that might be on the board that threaten Heimerdinger or threaten Ezreal. She's also a great late game top deck draw. If your hand is empty and you've played out all of your other options and you draw into a Jinx, Jinx's Rocket can make the game state switch heavily into your favor. So I like her here. A lot of people probably wouldn't run her, but I've had a lot of good success with her. When, let's say, one of my Heimerdingers is in my deck and the other one on the board is dead, Jinx has helped me get rid of some aggro options that I played against. So yeah, overall, just a really good card for this deck, I believe. Other things that I run here are Chempunk Pickpocket. Say that 10 times fast. Chempunk, Nexus Strike, he creates a exact copy of a random spell from the enemy's deck. He's really good. He's a 3/2, which means he can block those fearsome opponents that you're going to play against, like Elise, a lot of the other things in that Elise aggro deck. He also trades up, which is always favorable. And if he ends up getting a Nexus Strike in, he gives you a random spell, and which is really powerful. It's basically a free card draw. Depending on the matchup, it's not always a good card draw, but you can always use the spells that he gives you to discard with some of your discard mechanics that you have in the deck. So I think he's really underrated, and I haven't really seen anybody make use of him, but he's a fantastic card in my opinion. Flame Chompers also good challenger, and because of his effect, when he's discarded, you summon him. That can be pretty strong comboed with some of the other cards in the deck. Only running a 2 of though, because I felt like 3 I was drawing into a Flame Chomper more than I needed to. And then one of the stars of the deck here, Kinku Lifeblade. Kinku Lifeblade is an amazing card, and I'm kind of abusing him in this deck. So Kinku Lifeblade's 2/3, 4 cost follower with lifesteal and elusive. Extremely strong, very good and vital to keeping your mulligan against aggro matchups. Overall, just a good to have, especially when you're playing against other elusive decks. He also tends to clear one of the elusive followers on the board and then stay alive to clear a second. So, I mean, in that, gaining 4 life for 4 mana and killing 2 things is pretty good value. You see a lot of elusive decks running him, and I can see why. I've learned exactly why they run him. He's a fantastic card. I run 1 Karina Varaza. A lot of the other lists that I've seen run 2 of her. But I feel like a lot of the times when you draw into your second one, you're probably going to be discarding cards that you need to stay alive otherwise. You know, I've had some pretty favorable results from her. I don't think I've ever hit below 3. Or maybe I think I might have hit 2 one time, actually. But you know, with the sheer amount of spells that we're running in this deck, most of the time the average is 3. The last 2 games I played, I actually hit 5, which was great. Cleared the board and did 5 face damage. That's something to keep in mind for finishing, is that Karina does deal face damage to the opponent, so she can be used to finish out games. If the opponent's board has been dealt with to the best of your abilities, but is still full, Karina is a good card to finish everything out. Let's get into some of the spells here. Run 3 of Jury Rig. It's 1 mana burst spell that creates a Scrap Scuttler whenever it's played or discarded. So goes with all of the other discard effects in the game. Burst means if you need to in a pinch, you can play the card, make the 1/1 Scrap Scuttler and chump block something. Had to do that a few times, but you definitely want to try to save it for a Rummage. 1 mana Rummage and discarding 2 Jury Rigs. So 1 mana, play 2 1/1s, discard 2, draw 2 effectively. Is pretty great. It's really strong. Helps you draw into some of the other options of the game. I think drawing cards in this I think drawing cards in this game is a lot better than in a lot of other games because there isn't a whole lot of draw speed. So Rummage fits in perfectly here. Also to note, it synergizes with Jinx. You're discarding cards. So if let's say for instance you play Rummage, there's only 2 other cards in your hand, you discard both of those cards, Jinx will transform. She'll level up before you draw the other 2 cards. So it's also pretty good in that kind of situation. 3 Mystic Shots, deal 2 damage for 2. You can target anything, finish off a follower that's been bugging you on the board or hit in face. Ezreal's an engine of these cards, but having 3 more in the deck definitely doesn't hurt it. Deny, probably the most broken card in the game right now. Being able to stop fast, slow, or skills, it's really good. The fact that it is fast as well, you really want to try your best to keep your spell mana open to 3 for the entire time you're playing. Even if you're not holding a deny, just to make your opponent think you are. So it's overall a great card. Hits the 3 spot for Heimerdinger, making that 3/1 elusive. Moving on, let's talk about Flash of Brilliance. It is effectively a 0 mana draw spell. It does give you a random spell. So the effects aren't always great, but those spells oftentimes are more fuel for Heimerdinger. It also costs 3 mana, so it hits that sweet spot for Heimerdinger as well, giving you that 3/1 elusive. Overall, just a great card. It being burst speed can also give you answers in a pinch if you're trying to react to something that your opponent's doing. Only run a 2 of though because I felt like 3 I was drawing it too often and I didn't need it, and it's good because it does let you draw, but the randomness effect can kind of muddy the rest of the card pool. Get Excited, one of the strongest cards in the deck. It's again hitting that 3 mana spot for Heimerdinger. Discard to deal 3 damage to anything. I've finished off opponents many times. I've hit, killed an Elise basically every time I've seen it on the board with a Get Excited. When I'm mulliganing and I have one in my hand, I'm pretty happy with it because it's pretty easy with this deck to save some of your cards to get rid of those big threats. Steel Tempest, stun an attacking enemy. I save this for big threats most of the time, or anytime I feel like there's an unfavorable trade. When you're playing against decks with Challenger, they'll try to target Heimerdinger to try to get rid of him, and rightfully so because he does impact the board that much. So Steel Tempesting, something that's trying to kill your Heimerdinger, is pretty good. Also keeps Darius at bay. Any of the other really, really big followers or allies that try to get in there. Great card. Static Shock, 4 mana, deal 1 damage to 2 things and draw a card. Again, going back to that draw effect, it's awesome. And dealing 1 damage twice is really good at controlling board states against aggro decks. And as aggro is heavily in the meta, this deck was kind of built to counter it in a way. And this card just fits. It's a shoe-in. Will of Ionia, it's a 3 of here. Recall unit. You can use this defensively or offensively. Well, most of the time, okay. When I say offensively, I don't mean in order to get damage through. I mean in order to be proactive. But sometimes you save it for your Heimerdinger if you have nothing else on board and they're going to kill the Heimerdinger. You just recall it back to your hand and you're set. Very strong card. Definitely a 3 of. I wouldn't try to run any less than that. It does more good than bad. Then finally, Progress Day. 8 mana, draw 3, then reduced all their cost by 1. See, as you can see here, a lot of the times if we draw any of our spells, reduce them cost to either 0, 1. It makes all of the cheap things in our deck even cheaper. Lets you draw 3. It's at burst speed, which is just insane. So a lot of the times, if the aggressive deck that you're playing against plays a follower out, you can Progress Day, draw 3 cards, and play an 8/8 all in the same turn. So hopefully you had some spell mana there to make use of the cards that you drew. But if you just play an 8/8, that's still really strong. So yeah, overall, I'm very impressed with this deck. You'll notice that there is no 1 cost follower to play on turn 1. I haven't really had any negative effects from not having a turn 1 play because I make use of so much spells in the deck. There really is no need to have a 1 cost follower. Chempunk Pickpocket on 2 often answers whatever was played on turn 1 and then also trades up to whatever they play on turn 3. So I think overall I'm very happy with this deck. I might need to do a little bit of refining the higher up I get into ladder. I believe I said earlier that I'm out of 20 games, I'm 16-4. 2 of the matchups that I lost were Spider aggro, which is kind of funny because this deck is meant in part to counter that, but I lost to bad draws most of the time. There are cases, or like those 2 games that I'm speaking of, where I didn't draw Heimerdinger, I didn't draw any of my followers, and the only thing I had were these reactive spells, and that can only get you so far, which I think is the biggest downfall of this deck, is that you really need to have some sort of follower or champion presence in order to make it to the late game. And in those instances, that's when you use the jury rig, just play it straight out to get a 1/1 follower on the board so you can do something proactive. But yeah, the next couple clips you're gonna see are me playing it on ladder. I'm gonna show a good game, bad game. I'm gonna show off a couple of different things that I've done with it. Overall, I hope you've enjoyed my take on this deck. The code for the deck will be in the description. If you have any questions, leave a comment. Follow us for more of this because we plan on making more videos on the decks that we play. Yeah, and until next time, I hope you enjoy the clips. We'll see you later. New round. So lots of new stuff that can be done here. Vile Feast. Vengeance. Yeah, we're going to deny that and punish you for playing against an Ionia deck.
Round and round and round it goes.
That's pretty good, man. So we're going to. We've only got 1 mana. I don't know that there's going to be a 1 mana spell that really does anything good. Video rendering now. Deny is so good. 1 mana 5/5 strong. Yeah, 1 mana 5/5 vanilla. Not that strong. You know, I got the MK. I got the MK2, which isn't the best in the world, but I now can. I have a couple of options of things that I can do, and I think that the best option is going to be to just draw 3 cards. And with that, Heimer is upgraded. So now every time I play a cool thing. Oh, I get a 0 mana Rummage. That's really good. Ah, he said no.
I go unseen.
I got a 2 mana deny for next turn. I can just discard a Chomper and probably the Static Shock? Question mark, but I don't know. We'll wait until a little bit later to Rummage. Don't think he deal 2 damage to all units. Yeah, it doesn't kill any of my stuff. It was an odd play. Don't think that was a good play. Especially considering, I don't know, that was just a very odd thing to do. Do I need to rummage with those cards? No, that's what I'm saying. I don't need to yet. Rude Awakening and Vile Feast. Okay. So first, we're gonna recall Heimerdinger. Then we're gonna deny Rude Awakening. Really not even give him a chance to with this actually I'm gonna rummage because I have this. I have this fleeting card. Another progress day and another static shock, so that's gonna be really good. Could have denied first for the card from Donger. That is true, I suppose. Yeah, I got one card anyway.
Eminently logical.
So static shocks are good when they have stuff on their board, but in this situation, not really that good. So we don't want to kill. All right, I know what I'm sorry. I'm thinking out loud. So we're going to. I have 6 mana. We're going to get excited. We're going to discard this static shock. We're going to kill that stupid thing there. Okay. It's dead. That's fine. Thinking out loud is perfect when streaming this game. It really is. All right, so I can do this and this. I can challenger. Actually, I might as well get the 2 damage in with Heimer too. Now that I'm thinking about it. So I'm going to deal 10. I'm going to deal lethal. This is lethal. Yeah. This is exactly lethal. I haven't even done the math yet, but I'm pretty sure me getting that challenger out was really good. So I can play a 3 mana's worth of stuff here.
Smells like opportunity.
Let's attack.
Demacian steel protects me.
It's a chomper. This is going to deal exactly 4 damage to him. This attack plus. Are you going to deny it? That's a little bit annoying, but it's okay. I thought that I was going to get the outright. Oh, why did you give him quick attack? Actually, quick attack only works when you're attacking. All right.
I'll write my own story. Order, entropy, a never-ending cycle.
I think, honestly, I think that this is a waste of a Steel Tempest on this too. I really, really do. He has 7 mana. I mean, if we have the tools do nothing if they sit in my hand the whole game. I guess I should be greedy. I should try to avoid taking damage at all costs, which I'm. This also sets this up for next turn.
My most
we're starting to get to the point in the game where, especially when I play this Life Blade, I'm gonna be swinging board states pretty heavily in my favor.
These are dangerous lands.
And if he plays something here, it's not really going to matter a whole lot because I'm going to attack with these 2 elusive units. Unless he plays an elusive unit himself. Going to purify it? Okay. That's a thing.
My shield is yours.
Well, buddy, I'm not going to attack with this now. Instead, I'm just going to attack with this. And I got punished for not having enough mana out. But it's fine. Wasn't that big of a punishment. I still have the unit. The unit didn't die. It just doesn't do a lot of stuff for me. I've got 9 mana here. So I can recall a unit and steal Tempest. Kind of slows my...
Strength and grace, beauty in the blade.
Yeah. So it's not really worth it for me to progress day yet. I can progress day on my turn.
One way to test them out.
I'll show you how it's done.
Eyes open.
Again, I go down to 2 mana doing this way, which sucks that I don't have deny for this. That's fine. Yeah, he does have some pressure on me, but it's not really that big of a deal. He just wasted 3 mana to kill a 0 mana minion. 0 mana follower, so it's not really that big of a deal. Also, next turn, I get to play Progress Day. And I think I have enough mana to also play this Deny. And I know what 50% of the cards in his hand are. Alright. It's Progress Day.
A fine spectrum of pyrotechnics.
And Heimerdinger levels up.
If I didn't forge it, you won't want it. Is mine.
So we'll give him an opportunity to clear out some of my, units that I don't really want, like this Kinkle Lifeblade that's been purified.
Part of the training.
He can't block this or this, which is pretty nice. He's gonna have to chump block. What? You got Steel Tempest. You got Recall.
Progress waits for no one.
These are these 3,000 IQ. Chomper's actually turning out to be a pretty effective card. 11 mana. Lets me do a lot of different stuff this turn. Pretty important stuff too. Deny. All my mana is open
Field is yours.
to play deny.
For 2.
So one of these cards is a spell, and it affects the board in some way. So let's block here.
Dimensions don't determine themselves.
We'll do it this way. We're gonna kill this, deal 1 damage to this. That way, if I draw into another Static Shock, I can also kill that as well. That's fine. It doesn't really. That was kind of a waste. It probably would have been better served to put it on the 3/2 to deal 1 extra damage to the T-Hex.
Round and round and round it goes. A fine spectrum of pyrotechnics.
This is why you run Progress Day. Here. And I got another Progress Day.
Behold.
You can concede anytime you want to, buddy. I have lethal damage just from unblockable units, I think. 7. No, I'm 1 damage off from lethal damage. Okay. That's what this game does. It lets them. I have. It's very reactive in the early stages of the game. I have to let them do. I have to. Yeah, like I have to let them develop a board and then take control of the board. And once Heimerdinger comes into play, it's really hard to stop the snowball.